I got to tell you guys something, man. I gotta come clean up something. Good afternoon, everybody. Dan Sileo here on the National Football Show. Guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. I'm going to come clean on something here, okay? Guys, you got to understand something about the way Dan Sileo covers a football team or covers the league or covers your special, okay? Your special team. Let me tell you how I cover it. You ready? You may not like some of the things that I say because I peel the onion back and I look at something and how I see something. That's not how it's going to be conveyed to you when you're talking about mainstream media in Philadelphia. Remember something. Those guys have to all have access to the general manager. By the way, I have access. You know why I have access to a lot of teams and a lot of general managers and a lot of head coaches? Because the people that I have access to, those are the people that actually make decisions. Those are the people that actually run their teams. And they like my honesty. I've learned a lesson on what controversial is. It's honesty. Being honest is controversial. Can you imagine that? More people in life would rather have a lie told to them so that they can feel better about themselves than to actually hear the truth about something. This wide receiver topic that I brought up has blown up my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show. Oh, we've had this. No, you haven't. You have not had an explosive wide receiver for an extended period of time outside of D-Jackson. I'm going to prove it to you here. By the way, we're also going to talk about the upcoming NFL draft because you know why? That's the only place you're going to find a guy who potentially could be, and I say potentially, could be an explosive player for you. Again, though, the draft is like hitting the lottery. Look at what the Cowboys did last year with Micah Parsons. They hit the lottery. They're comparing him now to Lawrence Taylor. That's a far reach for me, but I see where they're going with this. Before we even get started here, I just want you to understand something that, know this. I'm trying to get to a place where your football team is better than it was a year ago. How about this, guys? Let me ask you something. How many people out there thought that the Brian Flores firing was an awful firing? How many people thought that that was an awful firing? How many people? How many people thought that Brian Flores, 2 straight winning seasons, turning a culture around? How many out there thought Brian Flores being fired by Stephen Ross was a bad fire? I got to say, I think we all went like this right out of the gate. Hey, man, not a really good look for the Dolphins. Terrible. Das says terrible firing. Terrible thing, says Duck. Well, let me ask you this. Here on March 30th, 2021, why do I feel better about the Dolphins today than I did a year ago? With a new coach. They went from a defensive-minded approach to an offensive-minded approach. Do you feel better about this is going to go into the Eagles here in a minute. Do you feel better about the Miami Dolphins today than you did 2 months ago? I feel better about Miami right now than I did a year ago. And I don't even know who this coach is. They went out, got an O-lineman, the top O-lineman in free agency. They made a trade for Tyreek Hill. They put him on the other side of a 104-catch guy. This is more about Tua than it really is about Tyreek Hill. Because if Tua can't get the ball to a 104-catch guy and maybe the best deep threat in NFL history, this is on the quarterback. What's up, Carlos? Appreciate it. Chris, I don't know if they're better off without Flores. All I know is I feel better about the Dolphins today. I feel better about Miami today than I do about the Eagles a year ago because to me, they look like the same team, the Eagles. Paul, we're going to get to some of that stuff again like we did with the middle. By the way, I'm having a fun time with Barrett. We appreciate you guys ping-ponging and coming back and forth. Thank you so much for that. Guys, I know, look, some of you are a little bit, I don't want to use the word perturbed, but I don't think you guys see what explosive and great wide receivers are. And you'll have to excuse me as I continue to learn your franchise's history. Yes, Deshaun Jackson, spectacular player, probably your lengthiest wide receiver you've ever had. But I'm under the assumption here that Howie is some sort of like master builder of Super Bowl teams. And you know what the Eagle front office is holding their hat on? Well, we've won more postseason games than any team in the NFC East since 2000, which is true. And in theory, it's pretty great. But I got to sit here and hear people tell me that the Eagles have had explosive offense. You've had one 4,000-yard passing quarterback in the history of the franchise. And it's a guy who's no longer here, and he's going to be playing against you twice a year in Washington. I heard the owner yesterday tell me, well, I want to have an explosive offense. Let me read you a list of your explosive players in your history of your franchise. This is the history of the franchise. And I'm going to read these years. Here, guys, do we all understand that today, the National Football League, it's easier to pass today than any other time in the history of the NFL? It's made for quarterbacks. It's made for wide receivers. That's why the positions are being paid so rich. $50 million quarterbacks, $25 million wide receivers. And you're telling me that Howie Roseman and the owner of the Eagles are going to build a powerhouse offense? Let's look at that. Number one in franchise history, in Philadelphia history, Harold Carmichael, 84-78, 1971 to 1983. Some of you weren't even born then. Pete Ratzlaff, 74-12. And by the way, he's a tight end. 1956 to 1966. So your first two guys on the list of your receiving yardage, career-wise in Eagle history, are people that were around when John Kennedy was alive. D-Jax is the only modern-day player in the top three from 2008 to 2020. Mike Quick, your color analyst on radio with Merrill Reese, is fourth, 6,400, 82 to 1990. Listen to these years. Zach Ertz, another tight end, not a wideout, is fifth, 6,200, 13 to 21. So in your top five, you've got a guy that started his career in 1971, another guy in 1956, and another guy in 1982. Bro, then it gets to this guy, Pete Philos, 5,600 yards, 1947 to 1955. Did they throw the forward pass then? This is in a time where they didn't have face mask. Then you had another guy from 1957 to 1963 who's seventh, Tom somebody. Then eighth, Bobby Watson, 1951 to These are your top 10 wideouts in Philadelphia Eagle history. There's not a modern player on here. Jeremy Maclin's 10th with 4,700 yards. You've never had explosive players on this team for any length of time. This is the facts. Look at that list. Brent Seelick, 49.98, 07 to 17. He's 9th. Harold Carmichael. 1971, he started his career. Dude. Hey, pronounce Selleck? Great. Wow, must have been a barn burner because I don't remember him. Yeah, that dude's a tight end too. How again are you going to help Jalen Hurts out again? Here, get this. Here are the top 10. I'm not going to say the names. All I'm going to tell you is the years. In your top 10, you've got players from 1971, 56, 82, 1947, 1957, 1951. And you're going to build an offense. No. What did the owner of the Eagles say? An explosive offense. You've never had one. Tell me I'm wrong here. Dude, I'm not spouting things off. Because you look at the Dolphins have a 104 catch guy, and they've had Paul Warfield, Duper and Clayton, O.J. McDuffie. They've had guys on that team for generations that have been 1,000-yard wide receivers in Miami. Okay? 1,000-yard receivers. Steelers, too. The Steelers are notorious for finding Stallworth, Swan, Hines Ward, Antonio Brown. My God, I can go down the list of some of the greatest players that ever played wideout. Pittsburgh signed them and drafted them. You're building a team how again? You've never been able to identify prototype wideouts in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles. You can quote and you can post all the names you want on my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show, but you use T.O. like you had T.O. for 10 years. He was there basically a year and a half. Plaxico, right. Riley Cooper. Sorry, didn't make the top 10. Riley Cooper is your go-to? Riley Cooper is your go-to. Man, you're going to have to help me out here, man, where you feel the loyalty, where you think that guy's going to build a football team and he gets a 3-year contract extension. Yeah, Chris, watch this. T.O. was explosive for a year for the Eagles. Congratulations. Smile, Zach Pascal and Jalen Hurts, watch out. Dude, you've never had a guy. Here, the Eagles have never invested in linebackers. We really never invested in wideouts that were worth the shit. That's why he's going back in the draft this year for one. Owner wants I wrote this down. Owner wants a prolific offensive passing game. The facts are he's never had one. Why now? And by the way, when you had a quarterback, hey, Dan says Maclin and D-Jack. Okay, congratulations. In the history of the Eagles, that's your best tandem. It's your best tandem. 2010. Congratulations to you. The owner's never had a prolific offense, yet he yearns for it. Hey, and when he had Carson Wentz, he went out and got Alshon Jeffries. Why this offseason hasn't the owner or the GM, who's got complete power of the team, why hasn't he gone and gotten a prototype wideout for Jalen Hurts? I saw again, we're 100% behind him. Well, your actions really kind of don't say that. Your mouth says it, but your actions aren't showing it. Not when you've got $895,000, $825,000 base salary invested in your wideouts going into the start of September's 2022 NFL season. You got a tight end you're paying $1 million to. How are you going to move the sticks with prolific? That's what the owner wants. Prolific passing and a prolific passing game. Don says Devontae and wide receiver this year. And a wide receiver this year. Man, hey, you know, I brought this up on the middle. I've never heard a coach admit that the general manager is the boss until Nick Sirianni slipped it out and said yesterday at the NFL owner meetings in Palm Beach, hey, he's the boss. He builds the team. You know, he had to basically sell Howie on Zach Pascal instead of the GM selling the head coach on a player he wants to put on his roster. The roster's not Nick Sirianni's roster. It's Howie's roster. Nick Sirianni did more work than I thought he did a year ago. He took somebody else's team and won with it. How hard do you think that is? Wait a minute, Paul. Wait a minute. Think about this. Nick Sirianni took somebody else's football team and won. That's not his team. It's Howie's team. The Philadelphia Eagle roster is Howie Roseman's team 100%. The coaching staff is Howie Roseman's coaching staff 100%. The entire organization is Howie Roseman's 100%. The coach answers to the GM. That was made clear by Nick Sirianni yesterday. Clear. Yeah, I told Howie I wanted Zach. Played in Indy, was there when he was there, obviously. And I sold him. Oh, wasn't expensive. Howie looked at the number. Yeah, okay. That's why it's not anything off of Howie Roseman. If that guy bombs, he'll always look at him and go, that's he wanted him. That's not somebody Howie wanted. And it didn't cost him anything. Myra says Devontae Smith's the most promising wide receiver we drafted. With not many targets, he broke an Eagles rookie record. I hate to tell you this, but that's not saying much. When I name you names from guys in the 50s, breaking a wide receiver record in Philly? Really? That ain't much to sneeze at. That's not really it. That I could see if we're talking about like Denver or Pittsburgh or Miami or Green Bay. Wide receiver numbers, you got a guy who retired in 1983, where some of you probably not even born then, still holds the record for the most receiving yardage in Eagle history. You got three guys in the top 5 that played in the 50s. But he broke a rookie record. Great. Must have been an awesome number. 900 yards. That ain't shit, right, Paul? Right. The kid chasing in Cincinnati had 1,600 yards. That's a rookie record. That's a hey, 1,600 yards. That's a rookie record, man. Wow, 950 yards. That's average in the NFL today. Oof. By the way, D Gunn's with us at the bottom of the hour. I'm going to bring all this up with him. They've never had a prototypical wide receiver on this team for more than 5 years outside of D-Jax. That's a fact. The numbers say it. Devontae Smith is the most promising wide receiver that was drafted last year. You must not be watching the game. That guy in Miami had Jacoby Brissett and Tua Tagovailoa throwing him the ball, and he still had a 104 in catches. That guy had like almost 70, what was it? Almost 40 more catches than him by Jacoby Brissett, who's in Cleveland now. Hey, Paul, that's okay. 1,600, 1,500. Dude, that's a rookie record. Man, you're going to build a prolific offense. 9.5 a catch. Whew, 68 catches. Xander thinks with a quarterback he gets 1,500 yards. I've told you this before, so do I. Okay, hey, all right, I'll do this. If it's coming off that I'm bagging on Devontae, no, I'm not. No, I'm not, because I do. But, guys, we're almost coming up on a year. When Xander asked me the million-dollar question, what do you think of the Eagles drafting of Devontae Smith? I'm like, I hate it. He don't fit the team. Quarterback won't find him. Quarterback couldn't find him. Couldn't find him. If he did a great job for being a single coverage guy and the quarterback only being able to identify single coverage. Getting 950 yards, that probably is good. How many yards do you think Devontae Smith is going to have this year? How many yards do you think he gets? Oh, wait a minute. I got a better question for you. What would be acceptable in his second year, Devontae Smith? Heisman Trophy winner, first-round draft choice. I'm going to write a number down. 2 numbers I'm going to write down here, okay? Paul says 1,000. Dad says 800. I got 85 catches for 1,200 yards. That's what I'm expecting. 85 catches for 1,200 yards. Is that out of hand? If you guys want me to lower it, I will. Or raise it. Steve says no comment. Eastside Monster goes 1,300. Easy Money, 1,500. Smile, 900. Smitty getting 1,500 with Corral. Easy Money, man, I can count on you for that. You like that guy, okay, Corral, baby. Big Pickin, 1,200. Big Chris, 1,000. Okay? All right. I'm going to remember all this. I'm going to show you here that your historical history of the Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver-wise and explosion guys is not what you think it is. You win games by running the ball. You win games by playing defense. Why does ownership and the general manager want to get away from the Philadelphia Eagles mentality of what that city has come to expect with that team? They're asking for things that are not realistic and have never happened in Philadelphia. You know how you beat the Patriots? You beat the Patriots up. Not by being some stupid finesse football team. I grew up with the notion that the Eagles were a power team, a dominant team, a team that got after you with concrete, with Reggie, dudes like that, Waters, running the rock, Carmichael across the middle, toughness, not finesse. But yet, they think they're trying to build a finesse offense. You got finesse wideouts. I grew up in the Giant family. That jersey back there, my Hall of Fame uncle would say the toughest games all the time were against the Philadelphia Eagles. Playing those games at Franklin Field, what about throwing the ball around the yard? Even when you had Gabriel. It was about dominance at the point of attack. Like I said, you made the New England Patriots put the white flag up. I surrender. It ain't about throwing for 5,000 yards. It never has been in Philly. But yet we're like, hey, the owner wants to have a Patrick Mahomes type up. You've never had that. Picking, your history is okay. Lori is right. The owner's right. Get this. The owner's right. You've had more success than any team in the East since 2000. Let me take a timeout. I'm going to get to D. Gunn. Maybe he completely disagrees with me here. Okay? Maybe he completely disagrees. Hit the like button. We're going to talk to Derrick Gunn, our friend, and he's starting a brand new show with our boy Barrett Brooks. That's going to be all on April 18th. Can't wait for all that. He's next. Keep it right here on the National Football Show.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go for the view that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go to bed whenever you want. Or don't. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Welcome back to the National Football Show. Your boy Dan Sileo here. And Xander, I want you to do me a favor. That soundbite that I asked for earlier in the middle, with Sirianni talking about the general manager of the team. Before I bring in D. Gunn, I want him to hear this actually, because it's one of the very first times that I've ever heard an NFL head football coach say that the general manager is the boss and that he runs the day-to-day operations of what goes on in an NFL locker room, the roster, pretty much the coaches. And you can even hear that when he needed to sell the GM on Zach Pascal, he had to. Let's play this here. This is him at the owners' meetings. Nick Sirianni talking about his relationship with the general manager.
Again, Howie and I talk about everything, and every decision we make is, we talk through it. Obviously, Howie is in charge of the team and putting the team together. But he's using all the resources that he has to help do that. And so we talk about everything. And of course, I thought, I want Zach Pascal on this football team. I don't think that's a secret here.
Okay, so he had to sell it to the general manager that he wanted him, instead of the general manager, vice versa, selling a player to the coach because it's his roster. You understand that the general manager has complete autonomy on Sunday, Thursday, when it comes to like the injury report and who's going to be active. I know that everyone has known this, and this is kind of an epiphany for Sileo, but I'd never heard it at an NFL owners meetings. Let's bring in D. Gunn here for this, and I'll tell you something right there, Derek. I mean, flat out, there's something there that I had not really ever thought I'd ever hear outside of the Dallas Cowboys situation, where the general manager of your football team has complete autonomy over the entire roster. And to me, I think that this becomes sometimes the tug of war on what the direction of the team is.
That story came out a couple of seasons ago that Howie Roseman, this was when Doug Peterson was still the coach, that Howie Roseman was the one who set the 53-man roster on game days, so on and so forth. We see it across the league sporadically. It doesn't happen everywhere. Usually it's the head coach and his staff that set the roster for game day. But in this case, that was a story that came out, and there's no reason to believe that's not the case. Howie has his signature on just about everything that moves in that organization. Jeffrey Lurie gives him that autonomy, for better or worse, whether you agree with it or not. And plus, he just gave him a 3-year extension. So that tells you all you need to know about how much Jeffrey Lurie thinks about Howie Roseman. And I do believe that was part of the rift between Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman, the fact that Doug wanted more say-so in day-to-day operations, and I think Howie was unwilling to relinquish it. Now, again, that's my opinion. Don't quote me verbatim on that, but obviously there was a lot of tension in the latter stages of Doug Peterson's tenure here between him and Howie, which, of course, led to him leaving the Philadelphia Eagles. But, yeah, I'm not surprised one bit that Nick Sirianni said basically Howie Roseman has the final say with what goes on here.
You know what's funny is that, Derek, I had Kevin Colbert on the show last year, and Kevin Colbert has always made it so that during the regular season, he never does an interview because he doesn't want to undermine anything that Mike Tomlin wants on his team or has to say about his football team's performance, because he doesn't want to get in the way of the coach. And that's why the Steelers have won the most Super Bowls of anybody, I think, in the NFL, is because they've had that dynamic. They've only had 3 coaches since 1969. There's been continuity in there, and there's been, your lane. You're here, you get players. Not saying that Kevin doesn't have the power in there to tell Mike whatever he wants behind the scene, but to me, again, this kind of undermines. If I'm a player in that locker room, Derek, so if I have a problem, I know the head coach has no power in that locker room. I look at Nick Sirianni and go, I'm not going to him for any issues. If I've got any kind of problems, I'm going to Sirianni, because Sirianni's the guy put me on the team. I mean, Roseman's the guy that put me on the team, not Nick.
I think when you look at coaches that have their so-called players committee, I think in some cases the head coach, and in this case could very well be the case with Nick Sirianni, he's that buffer between the players and the front office. The players vent to the coach meets with the GM weekly, daily, whatever the case may be, depending on what organization you're in. And then the coach, relays some of the frustrations or concerns that players might have with what's going on. And then it's up to the decision maker, i.e. the general manager, to step in and do something about it, or a collaboration of the owner, general manager, head coach to step in and to do something about it. So I get where you're coming from, but it worked for Doug Peterson in terms of having that players committee. Andy Reid, when he was here, had his players committee. Andy Reid came in here as a young coach. He gained power in terms of decision-making. Then in the latter stages of his career, that was taken away from him. But Andy Reid always had his players committee. Players can bounce stuff off him. He can bounce stuff off them. And then then Andy, Doug would have that conversation with the front office people.
Do you think players go to Kevin Colbert in Pittsburgh, or do you think they go to Mike Tomlin when they got a problem?
I think they go to Mike Tomlin. I think they go to Mike Tomlin.
Derek, I'm looking at it like this. Maybe this is just the new NFL, because you see all these new young guys having to work with front offices.
Right.
So maybe it's a me thing here that I have to look at it. And that's why you see the Kevin Stefanskis, the Matt LaFleurs, and all this, that, hey, you're going to have to work with these front offices more so than those old school power coaches like Buddy Ryan or Jimmy Johnson.
Right.
Is that a different lens for me to look through?
Yeah, I think it has to be, because when you look at people like you and the Barrett Brooks of the world, you guys played back in the 90s, okay? And when I talk to former players now, and I mean players that I think would make good coaches in the NFL, a lot of them laugh and say, I don't want to coach in today's NFL. And I said, why? And the common denominator has been, man, you can't coach these young players nowadays. They're too sensitive. Whereas you could coach 53 guys one way back in your day, and prior to that, you need 53 different kind of psychologists now to coach these players nowadays. You got some who are overly sensitive. I've been told players sometimes they'll shut down and borderline pout, if they get yelled at or if they don't get their way. These coaches nowadays have to have kid gloves with a lot of players. A Bill Belichick still has that ranking where, it's like that old commercial, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. When Bill Belichick talks, everybody stops. But there are not a lot of Bill Belichicks in the National Football League. When Mike Tomlin talks, people stop. But there's very few of those. And, these teams now want to get the younger coaches, these young, brilliant offensive mind coaches coming in. I mean, some of these coaches now almost the same age as the players. The Eagles had a special teams coach who was 29 years old. He was young as some of the players. So, it's a different mindset now in terms of how you approach these guys, man. Some guys are old school. You yell at them, they buckle up, they play harder for you. Some guys, you yell at them, they shut down, man. And you got to pat them on the back. You got to coddle them to get them back in the game. And, it's a completely different ball game than when you play this game, brother.
You're right. And it's a different mentality in how to build a team. I heard a comment also that was made by the owner of the team, that he said he wanted a prolific offense and he wanted like it to be an air raid type, offensive attack. Right. And I'm going to ask you something here. When I look at the history of the Philadelphia Eagles, and I just went from 2000, but then I started thinking, let me go in the history of the Eagles with explosive players. I want to read you a list here that kind of blew my mind. Would we agree, Derek, that today the NFL is set up for the passing game more so than any other time in its history?
There's no question. No question about it.
Well, let me read you this.
Okay.
All-time, and let me get through at least 10 of these. Okay, so the all-time leading wide receiver in Eagle history is Harold Carmichael. He started his career in 1971.
Mm-hmm.
Pete Retzlaff started his career in 1956, and he's a tight end. He's second. Here we get to a modern-day player, D-Jax, 6,500 yards, 08 to 2020. That's the lengthiest guy that I could see with an explosive player. Then you get part of the color analyst team, Mike Quick at fourth, started his career in 1982. Then you go all the way down, Bobby Watson, 1951. There's a guy, Tommy McDonald, started his career in 1957. He's seventh. You got guys from the 40s, the 50s, the 70s, and the 80s in the top 10. The Philadelphia Eagles have never had an explosive offense in the history of the league. Where is he coming from when you see Zach Pascal and you see a guy making $890,000? I'm just trying to figure out the history of the franchise. They've never had a lengthy explosive player. You've had T.O. Macklin was good, but why haven't they been able to really have an explosive guy in this franchise going back to the 70s and 50s?
It is perplexing. And you can't say Howie Roseman hasn't spent the capital since he's been at the helm in terms of drafting wide receivers. He's just drafted the wrong guys. The guys that have not panned out, except for Devontae Smith, who I think is going to have a Pro Bowl or two in his career before it's all said and done. Deshaun Jackson had the capability, but because he was slight of frame, Deshaun Jackson couldn't stay healthy a lot of times. And I hate to use this term, but Deshaun Jackson basically was a one-trick type of receiver. He could take a top off the defense.
He wasn't a route runner.
No, he's not going to be the guy you're going to throw to over the middle. You get that poor guy killed.
Yeah.
You're running them over the middle. So they've had bits and pieces of certain types of receivers, but they haven't had that so-called complete receiver. And it's mind-boggling when you consider, as you just mentioned a moment ago, look at the brand of today's football. It's air raids left and right, and you look at the volume of receivers that are making these plays, these big, fast targets. Guys, the league is now, just swamped with the Calvin Johnsons, Julio Jones, Devontae Adams, all these big guys now, DK Metcalf. You still sprinkle in, Tariq, Hill every now and then, but for the most part, these guys are getting bigger and faster, and you're spreading the field more than ever now. You even got tight ends now that are running 4.4s and 4.5s in the National Football League, and for the life of me, I just don't understand why this team hasn't gravitated towards that more. I know Philadelphia Eagles fans want to see it more. I know Jeffrey Lurie wants more of a passing game, but when you go back to 2021, you can't argue with the success that they had in terms of turning that season around once they went to a dominant running game. There's still a few teams in the NFL that love to run the football. You look at a team like the Tennessee Titans. They ran their way into the playoffs. The pass set up their run, for the most part. And the Eagles, and I know people are going to say, well, you look at the schedule they played. You look at the inferior quarterbacks they played. If this team had won 6 or 7 games, people would have been jumping for joy considering the previous year they'd won 4 games. Okay. But they rallied and won 9 games and got some young players a lot of valuable experience in a playoff situation, even though they got tattooed by Tampa Bay. It was David versus Goliath, and David stomped them, But these young guys got a lot of valuable experience. So now you're sitting here with 3 first-round draft picks. I still believe that they should focus more on defense and offense. But if that one receiver is sitting on the board that's supposed to be head and shoulders above everybody else, you got to take that guy because they need another receiver. They need a bigger target. If it's a slot target, Jalen Hurts needs a bigger target, a DK Metcalf type body. One of these big guys he can get the ball to. And as you know, Dan, a lot of times when you get the bigger receivers, the athletic, acrobatic receivers, they make a bad pass look extremely good, and it usually ends up making a national highlight reel somewhere. And we know Jalen Hurts has had problems with his accuracy. Now he's working with somebody in the offseason out in Southern California. Hopefully it helps him increase certain areas of his game twofold. But if he continues on the sporadic passing route that he did in 2021, get you one of these big wide bodies, aircraft carriers that can make some of those bad passes look good and save your butt in a lot of situations. So I think the Eagles do need to get one. I'm not down and out yet on Quez Watkins. He's a bigger target and he's lightning fast, and I think he has potential. But you got to get him more reps. Whether you move him to the slot and get you another outside guy, or leave Quez on the outside and get you an inside guy. Get you another body where Jalen Hurts can spread the field like a lot of these top flight passing teams are doing in the National Football League.
I think maybe you just answered the question I'm going to ask here, because when I look, and I'm going to throw this at you here, you look at the base salaries. I mean, Devontae Smith, $825, Quez, $895. The guy they brought in for the third wideout, Zach Pascal, $1 million. This is not with signing bonuses. Goddard, $1 million. Sanders, 1.2. Then you got a quarterback that's on a $1.5 million deal.
Right.
And these guys aren't spending over $5 million. And yet I keep hearing people say, well, you got to get more for Jalen if you're going to improve and find out who you have. Look what they're doing in Miami now for Tua Tagovailoa. They went out, they got Hill, they got Waddle at 104 last year. And I say this to you. Even Wentz, they went out and got Alshon Jeffries.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Eagles are doing enough to get the best out of Jalen Hurts?
Right now, no. But as Howie recently said, it's not over yet. Offseason movements is not over yet. Now, I'd be shocked if they could still get, an Odell. I don't think Odell's coming here. I don't think Jarvis Landry's coming here. But there's still a few, veteran receivers on the board that can make this offense that much better. The Eagles pursued certain wide receivers, big name wide receivers, but I think they were blown away like all of us with the way the money ballooned for wide receivers this offseason. Christian Kirk, got $70-something million. Devontae Adams, $142 million. Bottom line is get what you can while you can, because the NFL is not forever. But the numbers that have been thrown out there, you look at Tyreek Hill, what he got, going down to Miami. The numbers have been crazy for wide receivers, and Howie Roseman doesn't want to play that game. Howie Roseman wants to try to build this the right way. Never in the history of this organization have they had 3 first-round draft picks. They've been committed to being on this youth movement to get better. And as we know, Dan, a lot of times now you don't have to wait 4 or 5 years to get better. You can get better in a hurry. So if you draft the right guys and you sprinkle in some low-budget veteran players to make your roster more respectable, you can turn this thing around a lot quicker.
2 last questions for you,
Yeah.
G. Let me throw this at you here too. Maybe again, this is something else, and maybe we're all stuck in the cement here, or at least me here. You look at what the Rams are doing. The Rams don't give a shit about draft choices. They just push their chips in, and like you said, the Buccaneers and Jason Light, they just said, "Let's go get it here."
Yeah.
The Dolphins are now doing it, and here, watch this. As bad as that firing was for Brian Flores, why do I feel better about Miami today than I did 2 months ago when I look at what they did by getting that free agent tackle? They got Tyreek Hill on the other side. I look at the Dolphins now and go like this. Gee, they went from a defensive-minded football team to an offensive-minded team. I don't even know who the new coach is. I never heard of him. And I'm sitting there going like this with Miami. I feel better about that because they're kind of pushing it all in here. Is that just something that Howie, again, they're $35 million worth of dead money still on the Eagle cap. So I don't know if that plays a factor in this and why free agency was with the Kaiser Smiths and all this other, and why they were good players, but they weren't the reach players that you need. Am I wrong when I'm saying that? The Eagles just don't want to go all in on free agency.
No, and in the past, Howie has been criticized for overpaying free agents in a lot of ways. And now the philosophy has shifted a little bit differently now to doing it, hopefully, by their estimations, the right way, now. The New England Patriots for 2 decades, they wrote the blueprint on how to give up multitudes of draft picks and take somebody else's veteran player and put them in Bill Belichick's offense or defense, and they're in the Super Bowl every other year. And look at how many Super Bowls they won. They didn't always go out and get the big names, but they got the right names to fit their wide receivers, their running backs.
He like a modern day George Allen?
Absolutely. But see, and all of a sudden the Rams emulated. It started the year before with getting Jalen Ramsey. And then look at what they did to add to the equation this year, bringing in Odell Beckham and Von Miller. And it turned out to be exactly what they needed. Now it's basically, pick your poison. Do you want the quick fix, where you're going to be inundated with a cap strap in a few years and go for it all right now? Or do you want to build it the right way and maybe get some longevity out of it, with a core group of young players who turn out to be great players? They can get you deep into the playoffs. So pick your poison. Rams decided to go the Patriots blueprint. The Eagles are doing like a lot of other teams are doing. They're trying to slowly build this thing together, build a core group of players together. And if you know one thing about Howie, when they identify certain players on their roster, like, Dallas Goedert, Jordan Mailata, players like that, they will pay them and keep that core group here and then continue to add to the equation.
Finally here, how shocked were you that it wasn't so much what Jim Irsay said about Carson Wentz, it was how he said it, like, we couldn't have that in here any longer. We needed to move on from this. It was something that I didn't want. There's no doubt Chris Ballard, and I had Frank Reich on last week, Derek, and you could tell he didn't want to move off the kid.
Right.
But, boy, I'll tell you, that loss to Jacksonville and how the season ended,
yep,
he must have wanted him out, he probably said to those two, well, it's either him or you. And then after you guys are gone, I'll dump his ass. Were you shocked how vocal and public he was about his disdain for having Wentz on that roster?
Yeah, usually in the NFL, as you know, you keep stuff like that in the fraternity. You don't let that kind of stuff get out. Now, a lot of stuff, as you know, leaks out because everybody has their so-called, sources, so to speak. When it started to be rumored when Wentz left Philadelphia, people here were thinking, okay, sour grapes, somebody who didn't like Wentz, speaking out against him. But when it happens to 2 consecutive teams, the stories come out about him not being a good teammate, not being a good leader, and causing more tension than harmony in the locker room. Well, then you give some validity to it. And for management to come out and say that, what does that say about Carson Wentz in terms of how he portrays himself on the surface compared to what is actually happening behind closed doors and on the practice field and come game day? And if Frank Reich, gives up on him, because Frank Reich basically made him what he was in 2017, which was almost the MVP of the season that year. Without Carson Wentz that year, the Eagles do not get to the Super Bowl. For Frank Reich to give up on him, that tells you all you need to know in terms about how frustrating it must have been with a Carson Wentz. Now he's going to Washington, and Dan, Rivera is a no-nonsense type coach. So we're going to see how those two personalities mesh, because Rivera is a take-no-nonsense kind of guy. And, how long are you going to put up, that mess? If Carson needs to take a good look at himself in the mirror right now and say, excuse me, what do I want to be?
Yep.
I'm at the crossroads of my career. I've got my money. I've got my money from 2 teams, the Eagles and the Colts. Now it's about longevity and cleaning up my name before my career is all said and done. And hopefully I can play this game as long as I want to play this game and not get pushed out of the game because my attitude has basically shunned me from teams in the National Football League. So this is on Carson Wentz right now to change his image. This might be his final shot to change his image as a so-called starting quarterback in the National Football League.
So you're starting a new show with D Brooks on April 18th, man. I can't wait to listen to you guys go around the room here, man. I know you're going to beat him up. He said he's my boy, man. You guys have gone back and forth on Eagles. You got to be looking forward to it, man. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, Rob Ellis, Barrett Brooks, and I, we've worked together for years. I don't know if you know much about Rob Ellis, but Rob Ellis is one of the best radio voices and ringleaders in this region. And all of us worked together at NBC Sports Philadelphia for years. And we're just elated that 3 of us now will have a platform where we can basically share inside information. We're going to get great guests on throughout, the week. It's going to be, 12 to 3 every day, Monday through Friday, starting on the 18th of April. And I can't wait to get going with these guys. And my history with Barrett Brooks. It's no holds barred with Brooks and I. There's no punches pulled. I love the guy to death, but I take my shots every chance I get, and he does the same. And I think that's when people see, there's so many shows out there, Dan, where it's all about X's and O's, and it gets boring after a while. People want to see personality. People want to see camaraderie.
Storytelling.
Yeah, and that's what we plan on giving you, as well as information, knowledge, and obviously we'll be fielding questions that we see people put up on the comment section in the show. We'll be talking about some of their questions as well. This is all about 3 guys who just love hanging out together, who love to talk sports togetger, and who love to just rip up on each other.
That's kind of my kind of show. And then I'm going to tell you flat out, do me a favor.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I'm getting on Barrett about.
Okay.
This guy played 12 years. He's got a Super Bowl ring. How do I get Bruce Arians on? And how do I get Frank Reich on? And that guy, his ego, you got to break him down, man. This guy knows everybody on the planet. Tell him to open that Rolodex up.
I know, man. And that's another big thing between me, Rob, and Barrett. We have a wealth of people that we can. I just had Sal Palantonio on my Gun on One podcast that's coming out tomorrow. I've had people like Scott Hansen, who I've known for years, Donovan McNabb, Brian Dawkins, Chris Long, my boy DJ Jazzy Jeff. So we're gonna pull out all the stops. Yeah. So we're gonna pull out all the stops and get some of these guys on. and talk sports and talk about life in general as well.
I'd like to know what he thought of Will.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him yet. I texted him earlier today. I haven't heard from him yet, but he did put on Twitter that Will, you're the GOAT. I'm proud of you, something along those lines. So he's going to stick up for his boy. I mean, those guys are like Batman and Robin.
Oh, yeah.
They go back to their teenage years. So he's not going to publicly trash Will in any way, shape, or form.
Nah, I think, sometimes person's actions kind of speak for itself. And
yeah.
Then everyone else kind of like fills in the narrative. And you just have to go with what it is. Hey, D Gunn, man, my relationship beginning with you here. Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you on, man. You're the most plugged in guy in the Philadelphia. I've talked to numerous people. By the way, I couldn't believe Angelo go like this to me. Dude, this guy Gunn is great. No,
Angelo said that?
Yes, he did.
I got to send him a check now.
Well, believe me, he can afford. Hey, wait a minute. He should send you one because he can afford it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That guy's been making for 20 years that I know of.
2.7 for 20 years.
Jeez. I make 2.7 also, but that's $2.70. That's
just
a big
take
difference.
0.7 if anyone's out there asking.
There you go.
Hey,
there you go.
Gunn, thank you, man.
You're welcome, brother. Anytime for you, man.
Thank you so much, man. Derrick Gunn, we really appreciate it. Absolutely. Man, I'll tell you something, though, about this Wentz deal here. 5 quarterbacks in 5 years in Indianapolis for Jim Irsay. Okay? You see, the problem with Jim Irsay, though, is his prototypical quarterback that he looks at, that is a guy that he looks at as a franchise guy, he sees Andrew Luck. And everybody that he has had that has gone into Indianapolis and has been a starting quarterback for him has not filled that bill. It's like the Miami Dolphins searching for Dan Marino. You're never going to find Dan Marino again. No matter how you look for it, no matter how you search for it, you're not finding Dan Marino. Same thing in Denver with John Elway. You're not finding it. But what you try to do is you try to find complementary people to it. Winners, guys that know how to move the sticks. And I'm not sticking up for Carson Wentz here. I'm just saying Jim Irsay's track record is not what people think it is. He's got 5 different starting quarterbacks in 5 years. You could say whatever you want about him not liking Wentz. Well, there were 4 other guys that you blew out too that you were not happy with. Okay? I mean, you have not had a guy since Andrew Luck that you felt comfortable with your football team. Now, will Matt Ryan kind of settle it down? You know the reason to me that I think Matt Ryan was a prime target for the Indianapolis Colts and to replace Carson Wentz? Because he's the closest thing in the NFL that reminds him of Andrew Luck. 39,000 passing yards, former MVP, got a team to the Super Bowl. He's a winning quarterback. Guy's not in the public, opening his pie hole, carries himself, conducts himself with great respect. He fits the part. And that's kind of what Jim Irsay's looking. At least he thought Carson fit the part until he got to know him. And I agree with D Gunn on Wentz. You look at Wentz's numbers and you go, gee, the guy's he's a prototypical NFL quarterback. But when you hear people saying things about, watch this, I don't care if Carson Wentz is an ass. I don't care. But when you hear that Carson Wentz is not one of the best teammates, you've got to have a quarterback that's the best teammate. Because he's the motivator of men in that locker room. He's got to have the guy, when things are not going well, that people still believe in, still have the blind faith in. You've got to have that. Hey, Daz, Chris, I'm not saying you're wrong because you're being proven right. Okay? Maniac, you guys, all of you. You're not wrong. Because his actions, 3 different teams in 3 years. Come on, man. All right. I'm going to ask you a question here going into hour number 2. It's being reported that the Detroit Lions want to trade the number 2 pick. And they want to trade down. Should the Eagles move up to the 2nd pick in the draft and get some help for Hurts or for the defense? Should they move into the 2-hole? Instead of moving out, should they move into the 2-hole? We'll hit on that. Hit the like button. Keep it right here on the National Football Show.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. 1 free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go for the view that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go to bed whenever you want. Or don't. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Welcome aboard National Football Show, hour number 2. I want to thank General Petraeus for watching the first hour of the show. I just got a great text from my friend, General David Petraeus. Been friends a long time with him, and he's been watching the show for the last hour. And, I just got a great text from him. I love General Petraeus. Got a great chance to become friends with all the commanders at, NATO. Mitchell, too. I met him actually in Philadelphia. Scotty Mitchell, I met him actually at the Army-Navy game in Philadelphia, and he was ahead of NATO. And one of the great things about broadcasting in Tampa for 15 years, you get a chance to, know the commanders. Tommy Franks I knew very well. General Schwarzkopf. General Petraeus, these guys used to all be at Central Command in Tampa because that's where Central Command is. It's in Tampa. And General Petraeus and I became friends. He'd call me from God knows where on my show down in Tampa. And he goes, I'm in Qatar. That's where I'm. I go, Qatar? Is that in Wisconsin? He's like, no, dummy. Yeah. Oh, man. So thank you, General Petraeus, for watching the show. We really appreciate you doing that. And please, guys, hit the like button. As you know, we have a bunch of great people that come on the program, and people are now checking us out, and we appreciate everybody coming in here with us. All right. Malcolm Jenkins calls it a career. Is he more defined as being a Saint or an Eagle? Won championships in both places. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw Eagles 14-19, correct? Had 2 stints with the Saints. And as I said, won 2 Super Bowls, over 1,000 tackles, 21 interceptions, not very high. Where is he in the pantheon of Eagle football? I think he's in the land of really good. Okay? I think he's in the land of really good. I look at Malcolm Jenkins as a Saint more so because I think he spent more of his career there. It's kind of even, 13 years, 6 years with the Eagles. So it's right there. It's not like, defining, I think, his better year. I think he became more of a pro, though. Barrett said this earlier, too. He became more of a pro in Philly. Yale says behind Dawkins. Okay. Man, what's up with you guys? I didn't wear this shirt earlier, ding-dongs. Guys ripping on my gear? I didn't wear this shirt earlier. I had a different color shirt on. Holy cow. Ripping on my gear, huh? It's all right. Hey, believe me, all good, man. Hey, I like watching the same movies over. Believe me, I like wearing the same clothes over. Yeah, he's that monster. His career is definitely more defined in Philly. Okay, as a pro, right? Dude, Wes Hopkins, man, there's another one. Okay, wait a minute. Xander just said, hey, listen, 18 X's are on the way. Damn, Sileo, that collar's a little bit tight. Yeah, man, well, I like looking like a vato. That's how you doing it, okay? That's how Italians do it, okay? Italians wear the top button. What do you think this is here, man? You think I look like some white guy American? I'm an Italian, man. We dress for the part here, Junior. Okay, you think we dress like a slob? Look at this. Look like a model. Hit the like button. Undo the button. I'm not undoing no button. Dude, don't ever tell a guy to undo a button. Don't ever tell a guy ever how he... Watch this. Hey, John, you look really, really great in that shirt today. You could check my DNA, okay? You could check my DNA, dog. We show the gold. Oh, okay. So you want the horn. I didn't even know what I... Can I get back to Malcolm Jenkins, please? Jesus criminy. Houston odds, right? Hey, Maron. I got a bunch of Stunads on here talking about how my shirt looks. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call my uncle Six Fingers Luigi. And Six Fingers Luigi's going to show up in Atlantic City because, it's kind of where we go. It's our deal. It's our place. How you doing, right? Hey, we don't deal with 52 cards. We got 47. What happened to the other cards? Hey, that's for you to find out. How you doing? We don't deal with 52 cards, right? We got 47. How come that dice keeps rolling? Hey, it's like a marble. The house never loses. There's a reason why they build castles in Vegas and Atlantic City, right? You understand this, right? You go there to lose. How come that dice rolls? That thing's rolling like a marble. Depending on what kind of place you go to. Hey, you go to Big Sil's Bar and Grill, man. The dice could roll a little bit, and the table's a little tilted. How you doing? How come How come the dice always go to the left side of the table? That's where the boot is. Oh, Maron to me. All right, here we go. Hit the like button. So the Lions want to trade the number 2 pick. Let me get my draft list. I want to know what the gamble's going to be. Is this going to be the gamble? Is this going to be the gamble that Howie's talking? Hey, for the record, you guys have been trying to tell me this for the longest time. I don't care what Nick Sirianni thinks. I don't care what he thinks of any player in the draft. So when Nick talks about a player in the draft, he may like him, but it doesn't matter because Howie's going to make his own decision on who he puts on this team and free agency-wise. So when we talk personnel from now on, Nick Sirianni's really not going to be in my conversation because he has nothing to do with it. Has zero to do with it. Why would I talk about the head coach wanting a player? He's given the player, you're to coach him. You're brought into Philadelphia to coach Howie's team. Just like Mike McCarthy is brought in to Dallas to coach Jerry Jones' team. Okay? That's plain and simple what it is. And you know what, too? I think that's the problem in Green Bay. Kevin Murphy up there, it's his team. Whoever coaches that team, it's Kevin Murphy's team. He builds it. Look at all those places that have that dynamic. Sean McVay wanted Von Miller. Sean McVay wanted Odell Beckham. Sean McVay wanted to move off of Jared Goff, who they signed a Carson Wentz deal to. He had to go to Stan Kroenke. You know all that money you gave Jared Goff? We're going to spend more money on bringing in Matthew Stafford. Try selling that. That's not Les Snead and Kevin Demoff, the executives with the Rams. That's the head coach going in too. Think of how much pressure Sean McVay was under when he went to Stan Kroenke and said, Stan, you know all that money you gave Jared Goff? And by the way, the winning, Goff had won an NFC championship. He had been to the playoffs numerous times. Hard to move off a guy that had success since McVay's been in the building. But McVay went to the guys that had his back. I want this. I want that. I need this. Okay. Doesn't work like that in Philly. In Philadelphia, when you want to, you know what? Deuce Staley, the head coach of the Eagles, cold day in hell that will ever happen. Cold day in hell. Deuce Staley, they probably never even considered him. There's no way Howie's going to have a guy he wants to butt heads with. Ever happen. You fired a Super Bowl winning coach so that he could get a guy in there so that he could butt heads with him. Oh, and you know that idiotic comment that people over on WIP were saying about Lincoln Riley being the head coach of the Eagles. He just signed an $11 million deal. He got a $7 million housing allowance, and he's now the head coach of Southern Cal. That's like the 33rd team in the NFL is USC. He had an open checkbook. You think he was ever really going to take that Eagle gig so he could butt heads with Howie? Dude. You're going to get the next coaches in Philadelphia will all have the MO of Sirianni. They'll all have that. And by the way, as long as that owner owns the team, there'll always be a general manager in there like Joe Banner and Howie Roseman. When you're the GM of the Philadelphia Eagles, you're the CEO of the Philadelphia Eagles, and the head coach sits in there with the CEO. He's the CEO that makes all decisions. I tell you what, my opinion inside the hierarchy of the Eagles, I bet you anything, the director of player personnel has more autonomy in the room than the head coach. The head coach had to beg for Zach Pascal. You think, get this. So he had to beg for Zach Pascal. What do you think he even brought up Tyreek Hill? With $35 million in dead cap money against the Eagles? You think he even brought that up to Howie? No way. He knew Howie wouldn't go for that. But he knew he'd go for a guy making $1 million. That's league minimum. He knew it. He knew it. See, Howie's smart. Hires a VP of personnel. Hires the VP of pro scouting. Hires the VP college scouting. Hires the assistant coaches that work under Nick or work with Nick. They work with Nick. You know the only difference between the assistant coaches, you think the assistant coaches have a problem, they probably go to Nick. They probably go to Nick, but Nick knows full well who put him in those seats. The guy upstairs making all the decisions. So that's why when the owner goes out in the meetings and says, Sirianni's a great communicator. He talks to his coaching staff with great respect. He knows how to deal with this. He deals with the players. He has to. These are all Howie's people. You don't talk shit to people other people hire. You talk shit to the people that know your personality. Nick Sirianni, okay, is dealing with all of that. You know, Frank Reich probably completely prepped him on this. You want that job? These are all Howie's people. You got to handle them with kid gloves. Am I wrong? That's why he gets along with everybody. Getting along with everybody in a coaching staff? Sure. Because I didn't hire the guys. These are Howie Roseman's guys. By the way, I'm not talking shit on anybody. I'm saying the way your room works now, I'm getting it. I see it. Everyone in the Philadelphia Eagle front office, by the way, they're never going back to that Chip Kelly kind of hierarchy. No way. And then Howie's making sure of that. He just didn't put people in position to protect his flank. He put people in position to solidify his position as the CEO of the Eagles. All the people around here on names. Oh, you want to have assistant coaches? Sure, you can pick them, Nick, from this list. Well, I like this guy here. I like this guy. I don't care who you hire. I vetted him already. You think there was one hire on that coaching staff without it running through Howie? Howie doesn't want anybody talking in corners against him. This player sucks. Get him out of here. You know the problem that they had in Washington with Jay Gruden, and with the personnel department and with the owner? Jay Gruden immediately identified that RG3 sucked after his injury. Immediately identified it. The owner didn't want to believe it. Jay knew it. So what did he do? He started playing Cousins more. He knew Cousins was the guy. By the way, you know why he didn't want to play Haskins? He hated Dwayne Haskins. I know Jay Gruden a long time. I know Jay Gruden 35 years. Hated him. I'm not playing that guy. He don't take the game serious enough. Owner wanted him. There was a power struggle going between them two. Jay wanted nothing to do with that. Shoot, Jay won a division title dealing with all that BS that was there in Washington. Bruce Allen, they all wanted Dwayne Haskins to play. Okay? Not Jay. Jay wanted the best guy to play. Got in the way. Front office, again, getting in the way. Not going to happen in Philly. We're doing things this way. It's cookie cutter. $35 million, we still have dead money on the cap. Okay? We still have dead money on the cap. $35 million. We're not going heavy in free agency until we get all that money out. Not doing it. Not happening. I see how he runs his team. Completely. Nobody in that building, nobody does anything without Howie Roseman knowing. Okay? Nobody. Including the janitor now. This guy's got his hands on everything. Okay? And the owner likes it that way because he budgets his money. See, Howie is financially and he is fiscally sound. He's not Jerry Jones. And you know what he leans on? Well, we've had more success than any team in the NFC East, including the Cowboys. Xander brings up, well, the Giants won 2 Super Bowls. They don't see that, though. They look at the last 7 years of the Giants. They look actually at the last decade. The Giants have stunk for the last 10 years. They've been terrible. I don't know if I've ever seen the Giants this bad. Maybe the Joe Pisarcik years is when they were this bad prior to Parcells and Ray Perkins showing up. But I can't remember the Giants being this sorry. They're sorry. Worst O-line. Dave Gettleman had 5 years to build an O-line. He couldn't build one lineman. Okay? Couldn't have one lineman in the building. So, should the Eagles trade up to number 2? You think Howie Roseman would trade up to the Lions pick at number 2 for an edge rusher? If Howie Roseman, and by the way, the Lions are open to trading down, they would probably trade for the kid London. They would trade for Drake London, 6'5", 210, USC, or they trade for Burks and make Burks the number 2 player taken or Drake the number 2 player taken. If you put Drake London in the Eagles huddle, now we're talking about gambling here and an explosive player. Maniac says, I like my 3 picks. Okay. 15, 16, and 19. You think you're getting an explosive? You may. A player may land there. You never know in the draft. Jeremy says USC has overrated wide receivers according to history. Could be something to that. Could be something to that. And I like this kid Burks. Would 2 be too high for him? Probably. But Howie needs an explosive player in that huddle. What a better way to get an explosive player in that huddle than on a rookie contract. No to London. So what's the gamble? What's the gamble? I keep hearing these grand plans. Building an offense. High-powered passing attack. What the hell are you talking about? Where are you seeing this? How is Jalen going to get better with Zach Pascal? Quez Watkins. Hey, Sills, don't go to sleep. Really? We got to hope someone pans out that you drafted in latter rounds. Not saying it can't happen. But don't you want more certainty and more clarity in building a team? Your history doesn't dictate it, too. You're trying to go off script. Jordan Davis, Devin Lloyd is what Victor says. How does that help Jalen Hurts? Why can't we be more like Miami? What's the guy's name? Hey, what's the guy's name? What's the guy's name in the new coach in Miami? What's his name? Mike, what is it? What's his name? I feel better about that Miami Dolphins situation right now. Okay? Mike McDaniel. Okay. Mike McDaniel. Great. Mike McDaniel. Hey, dude, I feel better about the Dolphins today than I did last month. Even after a shitty firing. Dolphins, to me, look better. They got a good offensive tackle from the Saints. They got a game-changing type guy in Hill. They got a 104 catch guy in Waddle. They got a good running attack. They got a good defense. I'm not saying the Miami Dolphins are Super Bowl contenders, but I'm telling you this: they're the second best team in the AFC East. The Patriots are in that division. I think they're better than the Patriots. I do. I think the Dolphins are better than the Patriots. Or as comparable. And the Eagles are going after these, I don't want to say low-budget guys because that's a disrespect. These low-volume guys. And even D. Gunn goes, they're not done yet. Well, the picking's getting a little slim. Look at all these names that are off the list. Free agency. You know, I named your all-time, and just so you know, I even put it down, your greatest wideouts ever. T.O., Deshaun Jackson, Avant, Jeremy Maclin. This is just since 2000. Alshon Jeffries, I guess. Riley Cooper, Freddie Mitchell. I don't even want to mention those names outside of the top three guys. Where are you? You guys are spectacular because, you know, I remember, and I know Xander does too. I remember a couple of months ago, Allen Robinson would be great. Hey, let's go out. Do you think we look at Devontae Adams? Dude, those guys are never looking at players like that. They'd rather re-sign Jalen Reagor. How about this? Let me ask you a really, really important question here, and this will tell you all you need to know. How many people think Jalen Reagor will be on the 2022 not starting lineup? How many people think that Jalen Reagor will be on the 53-man roster when the season starts in September for the Eagles? How many people think he'll be on that roster? Oh, I do. Or they'll trade him to somebody during camp for like a 5th or 6th rounder. No doubt about it, for sure. Look at you guys. Duck, yes. Keith, yes. Matt Hatter, yes. Happy Feet, yes. Carl, man. Sean says yes, and I think he will produce. Well, Sean, watch this. So you know, I sure hope so. Okay? He's not on scholarship anymore, Sean. Sean, he's not on scholarship. This isn't college any longer. You don't get a 5-year plan. A first-rounder, Big Pickens says, is going to be delegated to being a kickoff guy. Paul, I don't give a shit how you say his name. I say it because I don't care. If I can't say your name right, you're a nobody. Could care less how to say his name. I could care less. How about this? Jalen Zero Production. Better yet, I'll give you this. I'll call him JR from now on. Because I can't say his name, and I don't want to say his name. You'll know who he is. Just by the lack of production. Who cares? Then again, I can't say probably 85% of the names of your wideouts that you've had since 2000 because I've never heard of them. Or if I did, I heard them on draft day and they had no production. You know, it's funny. We caught Barrett Brooks off guard, didn't we, Xander, earlier today? I asked Barrett if Donovan McNabb had thrown for 4,000 yards. He thought he had done it 3 times in his career in Philly. Come to find out, he never did it. And the only guy that's thrown for 4,000 yards in the history of the Eagles is Wentz. I think it shocked him. So when people are saying that's not who the Philadelphia Eagles are, friends. The Eagles are a dominant football team, and they'll always be that. It's how the city wants it. Look, I don't give a shit how you win ball games in the NFL. In college, you have to worry about high scoring. In college, you have to worry about it looking like a beauty pageant. In the NFL, you can win games 3-2. No one cares. It's not a beauty pageant. You're gauged on winning and losing. Plain and simple. Not by how many touchdowns you throw, not by how many passing yards you have, but see, nowadays, certain owners, and it's your owner, wants it to look sexy. He hated the style of play. And yet he's saying he's won. How can you do this? And you guys are helping me here with this. How, on one hand, can you say we're all in on Jalen, and then in the next sentence you say we want a prolific passing attack? You're never going to get that with that player. You're never going to have a 45. I'll say it to you. Jalen Hurts will never throw for 4,500 yards in his life in the NFL. If he does, again, I'm one of the guys that always says this. I'm way wrong on this. He'll never throw for 4,500 yards. Never. Because he's got to rely on too many other components to move the sticks. By the way, that rolling, that's going to come to an end. How's Jalen Hurts going to combat that and rolling in space when coordinators are going to stop that and then get the mush pressure up the middle? How is he going to combat all that? How are the Eagles going to combat that? You're going to run the ball more? Okay. That's not prolific offense throwing the ball, though. That's not what he's talking about. You know, it just doesn't make sense. To me, I would like to have had Sirianni and Howie and the owner say, we're going to win ball games. And I don't give a shit how it looks. And to me, wouldn't you rather have this type of offense? Doesn't this represent your city more here doing this? Watch this. I'm going to line up and kick the shit out of you. Both sides of the ball. Gee, that kind of reminds me of the 17 team. I wonder if he even hates that style. I wonder if he even hates that. Because you kick the shit out of people in the playoffs and on the way to Broad Street's parade doing that. The Eagles got into about, at the end of that season and into the postseason, the Eagles probably got into 8 fights on the field and fought those guys for 60 minutes and beat every team's ass up. Hey, Sills, but our new helmet and Kelly Green jerseys, hey, easy money. I do like the Kelly Green, dog. I do, man. Okay? Hugh, man, there's nothing wrong with beating people up when you're an NFL team. You leave people in that's roadkill. You guys turned the Patriots into roadkill. What's wrong with, I don't want the Eagles to be a finesse team. See, you're signing finesse receivers. Devontae Smith's a finesse receiver. He ain't no dominant guy. He'll never be. He ain't sticking his bonnet in there blocking a safety. That's not who he is, man. Bill O'Brien and Steve Sarkisian had that guy in space for a reason. You know the guy in Pitts in Atlanta? Hey, man, Dan Mullen said it numerous times. Don't have him to the strong side of the field because he'll get run over by defensive ends. Put him in space. That kid Pitts would have been a great pick for the Eagles. That kid Kyle Pitts, who came out of Florida, he'd have been a spectacular. If you're really truly going to build the team around Jalen, that would have been a crazy good pick. Jeremiah, that's Howie and the owner keep the fan base hooked with cosmetics. That's correct, man. Oh, I see what you're saying. They dangled the shiny lure out to Kelly Greens. I get it. Okay, I get it. Congratulations, guys. You got a great selection of jerseys. Great helmets. Wow. I can't think that really impresses Philadelphia Eagle fans. I get the Kelly Green. And by the way, it's good if you're winning Super Bowls to do that. You imagine Alabama changing their gear? Okay. Hey, I hate it when Miami changes their gear and does the off colors, the greens. I hate that. Give me my whites and my orange. Give me the U on the helmet. Ready to rock. Don't change any. Don't touch my U. Don't touch the U. I don't like it when the U gets touched. Okay? Sorry, Sills. Those jerseys don't button up. You guys are toolboxes on my. Now I'm definitely going to wear it. I can't remember the last time I took a freaking break. I'm going to take one. So you guys are so wait a minute. Oh, excuse me. Button fell open. Hang on for a minute. So you guys don't want to trade up to 2 to get a wide out. You want to sit at 15, 16, and 19. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Let me see here. 11 picks. 3 years from now. Oh, wait a minute. 3 years from now. Where are we now? Okay, so 2025. We're hoping these 3 first-rounders pan out. So in 2025, I'll get back to you. So you're going to wait 3 years. Okay? 2025. To figure out if Jalen can play and if these draft choices pan out. And if Sirianni pans out. Yeah. So you now have told me you're giving Howie, Nick, the owner, and Jalen until 2025 to win. Am I right when I say this? Dan, why are you hiding those hickeys? Not anymore, dude. Not anymore. Back in the old days. No, not anymore. Plus, man, Italians don't have hickeys, brother. Remember, we give them. Right? I want to thank you guys for, giving the Eagles 3 years to figure this out. Well, wait. Actually, you have to count last year, too, so it'd be 4 years. Wow. What a great fan base. Okay? What a great fan base, man. You're giving Howie 4 years. Wow. Man. The draft? Put that over there. I'm going to give him 5 years. 2025, 2026. Sills will be really good then. All right. We won a Super Bowl in 17. I get it. So, and by the way, wait a minute now. There's a part of me that goes like this. Wait a minute. So you're going to deal with mediocre football. Wait. To the Eagles side of this. Wait a minute. You know what they're saying to you? We delivered a Super Bowl in 17. If we have 4 or 5 years of mediocre football until we can build it back up again, what are you bitching at? There's a good point there. Would I take 4 years of mediocre football if I win a Super Bowl? How many teams go back-to-back? Not many in this league. When's the last team to go back-to-back? A Patriot team, right? Carl goes, we gave him 50 years to win a Super Bowl. Good point. Who wouldn't take 2-5 over 15? Oh, no. They don't want to trade up to pick a player out of a Stingley, a Hutchinson, or how about a Thibodeau? You move up to 2. Now, of course, you don't want any of those guys. We don't need 2 this year. We need number 2 next year. This is okay. D-Train, you don't think much of this year's draft? To some, it seems a little bit light, right? Tony goes, as long as we win another one, within 50 years, I'm good, right, T? I got it. All right. Guys, please hit the like button, man. Hey, Choosy goes like this. Howie can't wait. How we can't draft is what's scary. Oh, man. Happy Feet says Thibodeau may fall to us. Don't count on it. Tyler says, and he's trying to bribe me, too, to be his uncle. It depends on, if you're a paisan, if you can cook. What's your, how the women in your family, I'm kidding. Okay? I'm kidding. The hell, my wife would go like this to you guys. What are you going to do with a woman? Good question. Hugo Sills, who would you take it to? All right, let's hit on that. Let's do me a favor. Hit the like button, and I will say that. Should the Eagles move up to 2? And if they did, who would I take? We'll do that next. Keep it right here on the National Football Show.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. 1 free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
Imagine for a moment that you went to work today and when you came home, you were catastrophically injured. Your life and your family's life. That's what happened to union construction worker Mike Little.
I was scared of what the end was going to be, but to be 100% honest with you, I knew I was going to be all right just by talking with Brian. In my heart, I just knew everything was going to be all right.
Call the firm and find out why they say, "We got this." Call 215-458-2222.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go for the view that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go to bed whenever you want. Or don't. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Welcome back. National Football Show. Big Chills. I look like a model, man. Look at that. Look at that, man. Looks good, right? The new camera and all looks good, man. Yeah. Paisan model here, right? Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio Sileo. I kid you. I don't know, man. It looks like I ate Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, good here. Hey, real quick before we get in who I would take at number 2 if the Eagles decide to move up to 2, since the Lions want to trade it, let's talk about it. How about what's going on now with an organization like the Ravens taking a shit all over Lamar Jackson? You know why they're doing that, right? Because the market got changed. You know what changed overnight? $230 million guaranteed in Cleveland. Changed the market. Deshaun Watson going into the NFL owner meetings. See what Steve Scotty said, the owner of the Ravens? Yeah, you know, no extension yet. Lamar has to call us. No, you have to call him. You have to give him what he wants. This is a former MVP. This is a guy who led the NFL in touchdown passes. This is a guy who wins 82% of his ball games. Everything he's done in the early part of his career, albeit understood, injury last 2 years, I get it. But every box that's been put in front of Lamar Jackson, he's checked. Leader, representing the Baltimore community, winning. They didn't have a winning season for 5 years prior to him showing up. You got an MVP quarterback. But now because the market has changed, you start taking little shots at Lamar Jackson. His game, his water skiing things, him playing touch football in the inner cities with kids on cement, him just competing. I truly believe Lamar Jackson is a guy who's all about winning ball games and winning a Super Bowl. That kid is driven. And it makes me throw up in my mouth that kid left South Florida to have to go to Louisville to win the Heisman Trophy and not do it in Miami with the Canes. I throw up also in my mouth because I doubted the kid because I didn't know who he was. I said he'd be out of football in 5 years. Now I'm a Pied Piper for him. If Jalen does the same thing, I'll do it here. Lamar Jackson. How many times does Xander and I do this? Every Monday. Dan. I'm like, I know. You watch this kid play? This guy's throwing dimes, and he's maybe the best open field runner in the league. Never seen anything like it, man. He is the best open field runner, and he throws dimes. It's crazy great. And his competitiveness is off the charts. It's off the chart. Man, would I love to have that guy. Boy, what a franchise quarterback. But now, guess what? They don't want to pay his ass. So they're going to start taking shots. Xander says still won't win the big one, though. I'll tell you what, I feel comfortable with him trying. I'll tell you what, Aaron Rodgers is underachieved too. Peyton Manning underachieved too. Peyton Manning, if you were to tell me that Ben Roethlisberger in his career, never having a losing season and having more Super Bowl victories than Peyton Manning, would you be shocked by that? Peyton Manning's 14-13 in the postseason. That's his record. The last Super Bowl he won, he was carried across the finish line. You think Peyton Manning over or underachieved in the postseason? Since we're taking shots at people now, and Xander's saying that maybe Lamar doesn't win it, 14-13, Peyton Manning, he's supposed to be like the second best coming of Brady. I find that to be, well, underachieving. Tony Dungy winning one Super Bowl in Indianapolis, over or underachieving? Dramatically underachieving. But yet we don't want to throw Peyton in that conversation because we revere Peyton and the Mannings. Who would have thought that Eli Manning actually looked better in Super Bowl play than what his brother did combined? Nobody would have ever thought that. I mean, Montana 16-6. You know, Joe Montana in Super Bowl play didn't throw one pick, 135 quarterback rating, and he's 4-0. Okay, Joe. I give it. I give. I mean, Montana, man, you look at what he was and how he played. The guy's a GOAT too, man. Montana, I'm biased because I played against Joe. Russell Wilson, what is he, 9-8? And like that guy's knocked, people over with his play in the postseason. Right? With Jim Kelly. Dan Marino, I think 7-9 in postseason play. Talk about underachieving. Some of the greats of all time. Brett Favre. You know Brett Favre is 13-11 in postseason play. Under or overachieve. One Super Bowl win. 2 appearances. Oh, man. Ain't that easy to win. So when you start talking about Tom Brady, you start talking about winning these Super Bowls, watch this. How many people think that Russell Wilson will get back to a Super Bowl in Denver? In the AFC? That's going to be a pretty big trick with all those teams. Man, remember something. 7 teams make the postseason. Somebody like Pittsburgh or the Colts or someone's going to be left off and left out. Does Tennessee repeat as the 1? Steve Young, very mediocre postseason. Will Lamar win? Okay. That's right. That's right, Xander. That's right. When you think of Lamar Jackson, the one thing he does put you in is the conversation. Jalen doesn't put you in that conversation yet. And by the way, Lamar doesn't really need a lot of help. That guy is the guy with the tambourine and the banjo and the guy with the drums that sits out front of Wells Fargo. You got that one-man band guy, you're throwing dimes in the hat, and he's playing every instrument. That's Lamar Jackson in the Ravens offense. He's a one-man band. But he puts you in the room. He puts you in the conversation for hope. That's going to be a tough one. Jackson 1-3 in postseason. Okay. Dan Marino, 7-9 in the postseason. Dan Marino's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Supposed to be the greatest arm in the history of the league. Eli Manning, 117 career-wise. Guys make it seem that, these guys we have great respect for and revere. I'd like to know what Donovan McNabb's postseason career was, record-wise. I'd like to know what his record was. Okay? why are you guys transfixed on my shirt, man? Foles 4-2. Hey, Jimmy Garoppolo's 5-2. Jimmy Garoppolo's 5-2. He's got a better win percentage than what Aaron Rodgers does. And by the way, he's beat down Aaron Rodgers a few times. All right, let me get over here to this. Who would I take it to? The Lions have made it public that they would trade that pick and move out of the 2-hole and move down. And they said that they have spoken to some teams. Could one of those teams be the Eagles? Maybe. Why not? The Eagles have 3 first-round draft choices. Why would you not think of moving up if it was helpful to your football team's success this coming year? And personally, if you think you're just a couple players away from being a true, legitimate contender in a very weak NFC, why wouldn't you think about moving up if you thought you were a player away? James says McNabb 9-7, I believe. Dude, that's good. That's like what Russell Wilson is. That's not bad. Everyone thinks you have to have these 10-5, right? Very few guys are like Aikman and Montana and Bradshaw and them dudes. Very few people have really stellar records, man. It's not like that. So if you're the Eagles and you get an opportunity to move up, surely you entertain it. Surely you entertain it. Who would I take it to? What? Here, I'm going to say something to you here. This is why and where I'm going with it. Do I think the Eagles need an edge rusher more so than we're at this position? Yes. But guys, we got to answer the quarterback position sooner or later like they are in Miami. We got to do what they're doing in Miami. You got to find out if that guy's the guy or not, or you're going to hang in this purgatory of trying to figure out whether or not this guy's the guy for another year. It'll be 3 years you've been in that purgatory. Do we have a quarterback or not? Don't you want clarity finally? We have to get a guy. We have to pay for a guy. I say you try to figure out, maybe it's not 2, but maybe what you do is you trade up with Seattle. Okay? You trade up with Seattle, who just get that pick from Denver. And there you get Drake London. Or you get the kid Burks. You trade with the Jets. The Jets have multiple picks. They're in a different conference. What you want to do is when you're trading up, you don't want to trade in the conference. You want to trade out of the conference and clearly out of the division. I say you try to trade up, and if you're really hell-bent on making this team a productive air attack, you've got to get air attack people. You can't keep talking the game. And the Zach Pascals, with utterly no disrespect to him, the 94th rated wide receiver is not going to help Jalen Hurts and us decide whether or not the quarterback's the right guy. Jameson Williams, he's not a top 15. He's somewhere down in the 20s. And isn't he hurt? I'm not going to sign a guy that I'm gambling on that's injured. I don't want an injured guy in the draft. Okay? I don't, unless I get a David Ojabo in the 3rd round. I'll maybe do that. But I need a guy to make an impact today. Not next year. Today. Okay? I would look at one Burks or London. My draft choices that I have in my first mock draft, I'm going to wait until we get a week into it where we're a week away, and I'll do another one. But this is useless here, what I did. Because I was thinking like a football guy. I was thinking like a football dude. Okay? So I would take a while. They need to figure out the quarterback position. And believe me, that Tyreek Hill deal in Miami is more about Tua than it is really about even Hill being in Miami. Because they're going to go like this. If that guy ain't the guy, we're going to go get us a guy. Because we got the skill. And by the way, think of what Miami has done, how smart this is too. Think about it for just an instant. Look how inviting that is for a guy like Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or somebody. Man, I got Jalen Waddle and I got Tyreek Hill and a pretty good running attack and a pretty good O-line. This thing's built for success right now. I'm pretty stoked. I'm going to Miami. You get rid of the quarterback in there who can't move the sticks? That's my team. They've made it inviting. All right. Guys, I appreciate it. D Gunn was awesome. Thank you so much. We'll be back with Barrett tomorrow, too, at the middle. Appreciate everybody coming aboard with us and talking some ball here, man. Thank you so much. Got the draft is coming around the corner. By the way, you know, everyone's always saying to me, Seals, you talk anything else? I do. But front and center right now is the NFL. Talking about the sorry-ass Lakers, I'm not Skip Bayless. I'm not going to bang on LeBron. I think we all see what's happening in L.A. Worst team since they moved from Minneapolis to Los Angeles. And I do think Embiid and John Morant are going to come down to the MVP along with Giannis. Those three guys are fighting it out for the most valuable player award in the NBA. Till tomorrow, 4 to 6 Eastern, we'll see you on the flip side.